Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings. Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a weekly podcast from Practical E-Commerce, hosted by entrepreneur Eric Bandholz.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. I hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet from me, Aaron. Welcome.
Hey, Eric, what's going on? Glad to be on here.
Yeah, we're both Texans dealing with air conditioning problems on 110-degree days. So,
yeah, that's why I'm working from home. I got to be here to beat the contractors.
yeah. Besides the heat, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, just another day in e-com land, just trying to make it through. I feel like everything post-pandemic has just been a blur, and I can't believe it's been 3 years since we first heard the words COVID. I feel like it's been a month,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm slowly stepping out of the fog and like returning back to like, what was I thinking about in 2019? Yeah, let's start doing those things again that we were doing. And that's kind of where I'm at today, is just getting my life back together post chaos.
Well, why don't you give our listeners a quick rundown of what you do, what you founded, and a little bit about your business?
Yeah, sure. So I own Bunch Bikes. It's an electric family cargo bike company. I saw bikes like this in Europe where they're very popular. But imagine a bicycle with a box on the front. You could put up to 4 kids or a couple big dogs in there. Just a way to have fun with the family while you're going around town, dropping them off at school, going to the park, that sort of thing. Just kind of a transportation alternative. That's a lot of fun. We were one of the first in the US to make this product happen, and it's going really well. We had an appearance on Shark Tank a few years ago, kind of leading this little niche in North America and just trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how to grow awareness of this category that nobody even knows about.
Yeah, it's like a Little Red Riding Hood. Is that what they're called? Little Red Wagon plus a bicycle?
Oh, like a radio flyer?
Yeah, radio flyer.
Actually, there's this popular product now that didn't exist when when my kids were little, but everyone's pushing around these stroller wagons now. It's like a hybrid stroller and wagon. And like you go to the zoo and there's all over the place. But I imagine this bike as like it's called a faster stroller wagon. If your stroller wagon can go 20 miles an hour and ride you to the park, that's what it is.
Yeah. So I can't imagine, a more painful business than selling giant ass bicycles on the internet. Like, what are you thinking, man?
Maybe direct to customer was a bad idea here. No, actually, I think it's whiplash from my first business, which was selling like kid jewelry on Amazon, FBA. Like, you couldn't have a more different business, but like I had some success with that, but all the takeaways were like, I don't want to be on Amazon. I hate looking over my shoulder and everything that can go wrong there. It's like, there's like no MOQs. It was so cheap to get into this. It's like, I need something that's expensive, difficult to ship, lots of barriers to entry, lots of moving parts, lots of complication. And it sounded like a great idea at the time. And from like a maybe business competitive standpoint, it is, because I don't have really that many competitors still after 6 years of doing this, because it is such a barrier to get going. But if I had known how hard it was going to be, I don't think I would have done it. But my ignorance led me through.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur. It's like, yeah, here's all the reasons you shouldn't do that. I'm going to go do it because no one else is.
Yeah, but no, it's been an iterative process. Like obviously shipping is a big challenge. I mean, we tweaked and tweaked and tweaked over the years. We have a pretty good setup now, and we're at a volume now where we can actually get pretty good freight discounts and stuff like that. But it was killer in the beginning, trying to figure out how much can people pay for shipping. Maybe we need to roll some of that into the retail price, and cover some of that up. And tried all sorts of different methods: shipping unassembled, shipping fully assembled, shipping white gloves, shipping LTL. And we've landed on like a process that kind of works, but we're always tweaking with it, and I've got other ideas on how to further improve it. but it's obviously the biggest challenge.
What have you found works? Because I know there's like last mile delivery where you can break that up too, and you really have to become a shipping expert.
You do. And I've, once a year or something, I'll hire in some like freight consultants to kind of give me their 2 cents. And I kind of like will implement their advice, people who've been in the industry, shipped a lot of freight. One of the biggest things I can do is just, it's got to be bang for buck. It's like I could completely prevent damage and ship via these white glove carriers, which I tried for like 9 or 10 months. Product would show up, never would get damaged. But the trade-off is it's slow, communication is awful. It would take like 6 to 8 weeks to deliver these bikes sometimes. It was like real, but they never got damaged. So how do we get LTL, which is, pallet shipping? You can get it there in a reasonable time frame, about a week, but damage is way higher. And obviously nobody wants to get a bike that's damaged. So it came down to improving packaging. It's like we could put all sorts of stickers all over the box. The guy driving the forklift's not going to pay attention to any of them. So you have to design for stupid and like, hey, there's going to be something in the truck that falls on your box. Is it sturdy enough to protect the bike? But I mean, when we ship international or like Hawaii or something, we'll put a big wood crate around the thing. But obviously we can't do that in the US because it's just so heavy and like not cost effective. So it's just been like tweaking, after a year of selling the bike. Hey, 10 people got damaged fenders. Okay, let's add some additional support or packaging back there. It's just improving one little thing at a time until now where we don't really get damage anymore. And it's not that expensive to ship relative to the cost of the product.
Do they have to assemble it? I assume you've got to shrink
No,
it down.
we ship everything out completely fully assembled. We're kind of in this niche of our own. It's like, it's not really a bike. There's a lot of direct to company bike companies, e-bike companies, and generally they're showing up 70% assembled. You got about an hour and a half worth of work to do to get that thing rideable or have your bike shop do it or something. This, in terms of size and scope, it's more similar to getting a motorcycle delivered in the mail. And like, can you imagine having somebody put their motorcycle together? I mean, one, it's a safety thing. It's a lot different and more complicated than assembling a bike. I don't want the liability of somebody building it themselves and like getting hurt, especially because there's kids riding in this thing. We'd have a lot of resistance from bike shops who like, they couldn't fit it in the front door. They got a small, tiny shop. Like they can't put it up on their work stands. It's like different in a project and they don't want to put the time in. They end up charging the customer more for the labor to build the thing than it costs for us to ship it. So, and our guiding North Star is always customer experience too. So it's like, if we're not really getting an advantage to not shipping it fully built, we may as well do it and deliver like an amazing customer experience at the same time. I mean, you open the box, it's literally ready to ride. Like you can ride it right that second. So that's a pretty amazing experience that, costs us a premium, but I think it's worth it, at least from a brand building perspective for now. Maybe there's ways we can optimize or do like a hybrid, fulfillment strategy, or I think there's creative ways around it, maybe even with some, pop-up hubs or something around the country that, we can do it for less cost. There's a lot of ideas.
Cyclists, I mean, they tend to spend a lot of money on their bicycles. So it doesn't seem like your pricing is that outrageous for the size of everything. Like I feel like it seems like it is relatively competitive. Do you get a lot of objections on your pricing?
We don't get a ton. We are far enough away from like bargain bin pricing that if you just want the cheapest thing possible, you're not even considering our product. Actually, when we were priced less in the past, we would get a lot of people like complaining about price. But I think we've raised the price higher because every year it's like there's just problems and little quality things that we just wish were better. And then we fix them, but it costs more per bike to have that be fixed. So we've just kind of raised quality over time and price has gone up with it to now like we're serving people who care about quality. And honestly, this is a product I wouldn't want to cheap out on. Again, because I've got my kids riding on this thing. Like I want the hydraulic disc brakes. I want it to be like reliable. I don't want it to break down. Like, can you imagine getting a flat tire or like breaking down somewhere? You've got like 3 young kids in the bike with you, like, and this thing's so big, you can't put it in most cars, So reliability and quality is kind of what we've optimized for. And we charge a price that reflects that, and even in our after sale support and everything, it's like we offer the best support in the category, but that comes at a cost as well. So, if you want to be taken care of, you're paying for it up front with the retail price.
Is that part of your marketing strategy? Do you put that in like the most valuable? I mean, your kids are like literally you're the most valuable thing in your life and you're going to cheap out on.
Yeah. One of our go-to catchphrases is most precious cargo, protecting your most precious cargo. And yeah, we do play it up that and just the support, our new phrase is like it's a 1 year warranty, but lifetime support. I mean, we've got customers going back 7 years, and we maintain replacement parts for every bike, and we always will for every bike that we've ever made. Even if we have to retrofit something, there will always be a solution to keep those bikes up and running because, environmental and waste streams and that sort of thing. Like I don't want anybody who have invested in a bike at any point to have the thing be unrideable, you know. So even if it's a secondhand owner who's bought a bike off of a customer 6 years ago or something, we offer support to everybody, regardless if you originally bought it from us or not. We just want to help you out and keep you riding.
Yeah. Did you start this business by designing the bike, or did you start by like importing some European?
Yeah, no, not at first. I'm not a bike engineer. I literally was just scratching my own itch. I just wanted to buy one of these bikes after seeing similar ones in Europe. Found that there was nobody making them. I couldn't even buy one or have it shipped to me. So I thought it was an opportunity, but also it was like, well, nobody's doing this. So is there some reason people aren't doing this? Is there just no demand? I didn't want to like invest a lot of time and energy and money into this thing only to have nobody want to buy the product. So no, so I started off just private label factory designs. I found a factory that was making bikes for the European market, tweaked some things. We've got some specs and components that make sense here that they can't do in Europe because of regulations and stuff as far as motor power and stuff like that. So we made some customizations to the bike and brought it in. And we're only just now, after, years of collecting customer feedback, putting thousands of miles on the bikes ourselves, we have a good idea of like, okay, if we could design the perfect bike, here's what it would have. And we know that now. And so that's actually what we're working on behind the scenes, is like our kind of first from scratch model, TBD on a time to market, but designing a bike from scratch is a very time intensive process.
Yeah, so the time is twice as long as you think it'll take.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it's going to take 2.5 years. So I hope it doesn't take 5, but we'll see.
Are you building that here in the States to build out your own manufacturing, or?
No, we manufacture in China, always looking at other places as well, just with the rising tensions and that sort of thing. It's not cost effective to do it in the States. I mean, we could feasibly, get some welding machines and like build the frames here, but literally every component is going to come from China or Taiwan maybe. And like those components are what make up the bulk of the cost of the bike. So there is some interesting things happening in the e-bike space. I know there's a startup electric bike battery manufacturer coming online next year, hopefully with some government subsidies. At least they hope they will get some government subsidies for that. So I think if the US really wants to bring onshore manufacturing, there's got to be some like upfront incentive to do so, because otherwise it's like, how can a upstart battery manufacturer compete with the Chinese guys? So
yeah,
maybe we'll see that ecosystem evolve and we'll take advantage of it. But like, I can't move an entire supply chain. I can't open up motor manufacturing and batteries and brakes and pedals and everything else that goes into making a bike. I got to get that from somebody, and that those somebodies are not in the US right now.
Yeah. So one of the things we talked about before we hit record is you've gone through some shit recently. And I kind of wanted to touch base on some of the challenges you had, the mistakes you made, and how you corrected those mistakes, how it kind of affected your business. And, like really what is the takeaway, or for someone who might be dealing with similar struggles that you had, like how you might be able to persevere that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we had mistakes really early on just because my first factory I picked was not a good one and had lots of quality issues, sucked a lot of my savings into that. But we finally figured that out, got a better factory, all this stuff. And, beginning of 2020, even before pandemic was a thing, we were profitable. We'd figured it out. Like it was, looked like things were going well from there. Then, COVID was like, oh my God, this is awesome. We're selling tons of bikes. But the flip side of that almost destroyed us, which was supply chain challenges and issues. Like I'm very much the creative marketing, vision, salesy guy of the company, and operations was not something I knew anything about or even really thought about. I was still operating with this mindset of like, I'm running a jewelry company and I can like wing it, my planning and inventory and stuff. And so by 2020, I had just gotten a handle on like, okay, 3-month lead times, planning ahead, looking forward, over 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And then it all got flipped on its head post COVID, to where in a period of like 6 weeks, my lead times went from 3-4 months to like 12 months and beyond. Some of the components, like the brakes we had on our bikes at that time, the lead time peaked at 3 years. Like deposit now, you'll get your brakes in 3 years. And it's like, I barely have a handle on like a year out. And now I got to come up with money. I got to put deposits down on inventory. I'd come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars. So investors came into the company kind of through that period. Shark Tank was a piece of that as well. Just any cash I could get just to pay for bikes. But, it was a moving target. It's like every month I couldn't keep track of what was happening. My factory rep was losing track of like who's placed orders where, where are the deposits. I'm like, we don't have like a way to describe, hey, make these changes 4 containers from now. What do we call that? And so I'd find out 12 months later they didn't make the changes I asked them to make. And so now we have like this chaos going on. And all the while, our costs are increasing everywhere, but I'm too slow to notice. Our freight cost containers go up from $3,000 to ship a container to $22,000. And probably my biggest mistake was during 2021, I didn't raise my retail price soon enough. I waited a long time. So we just like ate it on the margin. And so we get to the end of the year, all these costs are going up and we didn't collect enough up front on the sales that we had been doing. So that was a mistake. And then kind of on top of that, iOS 14.5 comes out and I learned that our marketing actually kind of sucks and like our creatives kind of suck. And we were just had a crutch on Facebook in 2020. It just worked really well until it didn't. But in my head, it's like, well, I'm so consumed with the operations and supply chain and trying to wrap my head around this, which I'm not even good at. I'm spending all day in spreadsheets, which I hate doing. I don't have time for this marketing thing. Hey, contractors, figure it out, throwing just basically money after the problem. Hey, contractors, I don't know what's going on with this iOS thing, but here's a ton of money, figure it out, spending money on all this ad testing and hiring consultants and stuff like that, just blowing money because we got the EIDL funds. I took it. I'm looking at the bank account. There's like 700,000, $1 million in the bank from these EIDL loans. We'll never use up all that cash, right? It's impossible. We've got money for days, money for years, just spend until we figure out how to make the ads work again. Well, short story is the ads never worked again. So I just threw tons of money at the problem. But I think part of it too is I'm optimistic to a fault. The world can be burning around me and I'm still thinking everything's working out all right. Or, oh, the next thing we do is going to change everything. So during this time, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just bad at operations. I just need to get an operations person in here to help me out so I can do the marketing stuff that I'm good at. So I had a job posted for a year, finally got a really awesome person from the industry to take that off my plate. And then, I had all the time in the world to do the sales and marketing thing. And I learned I'm actually not that good at sales and marketing. I don't really know what I'm doing because I didn't generate the sales that I was supposed to generate. So now I'm paying a salary for the operations piece. I'm not generating in new sales and we're operating at a loss with the idea being we're going to generate, the sales. But actually this was 2022 now. And the post-COVID bump in sales started to normalize. People maybe instead of spending on outdoor stuff and sports, and riding bikes, maybe now they're going on vacations and stuff like that. So everything totally flatlined. And I tried to like counter it like, hey, well, if we drop our retail price, we'll increase our volume this amount and then it all works out. So we tried that. Well, actually our sales didn't really change and we just lost a lot of money. So just a lot of like kind of reactionary decisions. And because operations and finances were kind of a mess, it took us way too long to get the data information we needed to make decisions. So I'd find out 3 months later, oh man, May was really bad. We should have changed something. Now it's like July, August. So, I kind of had this come to Jesus moment in August where it's like, okay, we got 2 months of cash in the bank. I got all this headcount. We've got, COO, we've got industrial designer on staff. We got product, manager and supply chain guy on staff, all these big salaries, and the sales just aren't there. Like we are going to be out of money. And finally, my delusional optimism kind of disappeared. I'm like, okay, the realist came out and I was backed into a corner. So I was like, you know what? We need to be profitable like right now, like today, on today's sales, not on like the imaginary sales in my head. We need to be profitable on today's sales. So I came in Monday, laid off half the staff. We cut all of our advertising. We were spending $25,000 a month on advertising, cut all of it, cut all the ad contractors, called up every freight vendor. Okay, played them off each other, reduced my freight costs 30%, hit every line item on the bank statement. Okay, what do we have this software for? Get rid of it. Played UPS and FedEx off each other. Okay, there's another 30% off of freight. Just hit every single thing. We had just implemented this like WMS, like warehouse management thing that was completely awful and we hated it. And it became like somebody's full-time job just to like keep it not from breaking. So I was like, you know what? We hate it. Let's just get rid of it right now. And that threw everything into chaos. But, It was like a 3 weeks of just making decisions without like overthinking it. Like I know what I need to do. We need to be profitable. And within 3 weeks we were. And then I made one good hire, which was my best customer who rides her bike 10,000 miles a year in DC. She'd been doing some contract and gig work, content writing for us, that sort of thing. I hired her and put her on the phones. Our sales went up immediately. So we cut all of our ad spend, cut half the staff. And August was the first month in 18 months that actually was above sales forecast. And every month after that was just another new record, right? And November of last year was like the best month we ever had.
So let me get some more details on that. That all-star ops person, did they stick around or were they one of your cuts?
No, they had to be the first one to go.
Okay.
Because it was just, we just had to downsize. It would not have made sense to have a person of that level at the size that we were at.
Did you take it back over?
Yeah, I did. And you know what I learned is actually I'm not that bad at operations. I was just completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think looking back on it, what I experienced was burnout, but I didn't know it at the time. I've never experienced that in my life. I've been like a really high energy, really hard work guy. Like my hard work knows no limits, but I hit a barrier to where I was just so overwhelmed. But actually, I got a handle on it. And I think part of the problem with hiring the operations person and building a team in general is I didn't delegate. I abdicated all responsibility. So I took my eye completely off the ball. So yeah, just because I have this person doesn't mean like I can't look at it. I can't look at the numbers and know what's going on. Number one job of the CEO, don't let the company run out of money. But I wasn't even paying attention, so, but I cut deep and fast and hard because the reason nobody else on the team left during that period was because I said, look, I'm doing this so that I never have to do it again. I don't want to like cut one person and then like, 3 weeks later, we're still doing bad, do another person. And then like everyone's wondering who's next, right? We just had to cut back. Basically, it's like we went like a year in the past. All these long-term plans we're working on, the bike designs, scrap all of it. Like we can't do it right now. Doesn't matter what our 3-year plan is if we can't survive 3 months.
Right.
And so, yeah, with the advertising, maybe now like a year later, we're starting to feel the effects of like, it's a long consideration purchase. I think we did have some benefits from the ads, like in the long tail, but that's starting to dry up to where every sale feels like we're having to hold their hand and really work with them and talk with them on the phone and multiple touch points to get that sale to happen. So it's like, where's all like the more impulsive sales? So I think there was some benefit to that. So we're slowly testing out some top of funnel stuff and going to get growth going again, but in a manageable way this time, focus on the bottom line. I think I used the top line as kind of like a vanity metric for too long and just didn't think enough about everything below it, from gross profit to contribution margin to OPEX.
I kind of want to dig into the sales aspect of it. You talked about bringing in a pretty good hire in terms of like one of your customers, moving to like a phone-based. Were you doing phone sales before that?
We were, but the guy I had doing it previously, he wasn't a user of the bike. He was super nice, took care of the customers, was wonderful on tech support, he had a background in the bike industry, but he couldn't connect on that like emotional level, right? Like when the mom calls in and she's like wondering how we're going to do the kids, how's it going to fit into my life? It's like that chasm couldn't be crossed that well.
How did you find her? Did you do a listing to your customers? Hey, we need to hire
no, there was never a job posted. It was like, we'd just been talking to her because she was a customer. I learned through communication with her that, hey, she's actually done some like op-eds and stuff for the New York Times and is a super solid writer. So we had her doing some gig work and blog posts and that sort of stuff for us. And I learned that she's like an incredibly fast and efficient and hard worker during that time, outputting really good quality stuff very quickly.
But basically, she reached out to you through like a ticket or something like that. You're like, hey, she wrote to you guys and was like, hey, I love this product, but da 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 da. And that was the start of the relationship, or like, because how does that even happen?
I talked to her in the beginning just, to get her to buy a bike. She actually coaching her through it. Like, she was pregnant. She wanted to get this bike. She ordered the bike. She canceled her order like a week later. Like she had buyer's remorse. She came back 6 months later, bought the bike again because I made her feel good about the purchase or whatever. And no, she was a career teacher. She'd been a teacher for 20 years. She had no intention of leaving teaching, but I think some teachers started questioning things during the pandemic. It got really difficult and people started looking at career changes and that sort of thing. And so I've been trying to hire her for a year, and she finally, I think, was at a point to where she wanted to try something new.
Okay.
And she's just very, very passionate about the product. And Well, maybe the starting point was we have this really cool ambassador program called the Bunch Squad, where you can go on our website and like connect with somebody locally and test ride their bike and meet up. And so she was our best ambassador in this program during the time. She was selling so many bikes in DC for us. Just like I'd send people to her house for demos or whatever. And then I actually went out to DC and I did like this e-bike event with her there, congressional bike ride or whatever. And I learned doing that event with her that she is 10 times better at selling this bike than I am, which I didn't think was possible, but she's there. We're doing this event. She's literally got a baby in the baby carrier nursing, and she's showing somebody how to use the brakes and like sending them on their way on this test ride. I'm like, this is like next level mom shit that I can never touch. Like this is the person we need talking to our customers and, taking care of them. But also, I think if there's a root thing here on why did this decision turn the business around, it's because I think we had an identity crisis. We didn't know what our USP was. We didn't know who we were talking to. We didn't know what bike we were making for who. So a lot of the bad decisions I made also was going off on tangents in terms of product development. And, you look at the copy on our website, it was very feature focused, maybe too technical, that sort of thing, the way my brain thinks, but it's not the way our customers think. And so she got on there and started changing up the copy, typing things out in ways I would never, you go on our website, there's things with all caps, there's things with 5 exclamation points. It actually kind of bugs me a little bit, like the perfectionist inside me, but it resonates, the way our customers communicate. And so when I had to like cut all of our resources down, it had to be, what are we doing? Who are we doing it for? And like, we don't have a lot of resources. So that's the only thing we can do. And she helped kind of, and it's in progress, but helping to define the voice of who Bunch Bikes is, who we're doing it for. And that maybe more than anything else, she was the catalyst, but I think that's kind of why things are turning around for us now, is we're communicating in a way that makes sense to the customers.
Yeah, did you do any kind of like A/B testing for that? Or is it just purely like, hey, let's make some changes, see how the sales go?
There was no A/B testing. A/B testing doesn't really work because we have so few conversions. It's a high priced product that like, I'm not on my website testing button colors and that sort of thing. It's like,
it'll take you years to get the data.
It's a lot of winging it and going by feel, but I did know that this was a problem, but I was so swamped with just like cutting expenses, everything's like, okay, you want to do it? I'm very uncomfortable with this landing page. It's never anything I would put on the website, but let's do it. Let's give it a try. And that promo that she put together for back to school absolutely crushed. It was incredible. Just, I had not seen such like a kind of community upswell ever. Like there was such positive reaction to it. And I was like, okay, like that went well. Let's do another one. The next one went really well. Like she called it the holiday dream package, like all the marketing that went around it. And she's now working on product development and stuff, bringing these products to market. It's like, why don't we have this? We need this. And nobody's doing it. So I'm going to do it. And like end to end bringing products to market for us, just that the bike needs, which is crazy, So essentially it's just, if I could put all of my customers into one person and have them working for me and telling, like, she knows exactly what the customers want because she is one, but now she's working for us and making that happen. So she understands the customers better than I do and is very much setting a direction for the company that I think is a positive one. And the farther we go in time, the more it's working out. So
it's always like, I want to talk a little bit about, so much of finding success in business is building the right team. And I kind of want to talk about like, there's a lot of ideas that, hey, I can hire anyone who has the skills. I can teach them about the product and the features and stuff like that. Whereas your thing was more about like, found someone who is passionate about the product and exhibits skills that you find valuable for your company, but maybe isn't necessarily like, oh, hey, there's a specific role for you at the company that I need you doing. It's like, oh, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And just kind of do whatever she thought, really. It seems like.
Yeah. It comes in stages, right? I didn't give her complete freedom and leeway up front, but when I didn't, I found that my job almost just became removing roadblocks for her to do things. Everything was just ending up on my plate to approve because I didn't give her the freedom and the leeway. So as I learned that, hey, like most of the decisions you make are really good ones, more and more I extended the leash and allowed some freedom to the point now where like there's entire marketing campaigns that go on and like I don't even know about them. I'll go like a week or two without even looking at the social media because I trust her judgment in what she's doing. But it was critical for me in building the team because I've learned about myself that I'm not the most hands-on hand-holding manager type. I tend to live in my own head and like get lost in my own projects and forget about everyone else for like days at a time, which doesn't really work if you have somebody who needs a little bit more structure, right? So having somebody who's independent and can just do things and make decisions is like, it just gelled well with me as a manager. Like if you're a more controlling type, it might not work for you. But it's also the stage of the business we're in, which is still early stage, I guess. We're still in a way figuring out what we're doing and how, like, so I think part of what the problem was, when we had like the growth challenges too, is, I mean, not only was I inexperienced, but also I was the bottleneck. So much came back to me that it really limited my resources to do anything new. It's like if I do something new, well, the old things I were doing are no longer being done anymore. Yeah. So I didn't really have any systems or SOPs or people to execute those systems. So I think there's a place for like repeatable, documented processes and people to execute them so that you can free up, like those things that are like the engine of your business. Like you want them done a certain way and they need to be done that way and executed, on the daily, weekly basis.
You said that, she's running campaigns. You're not doing paid. What do those campaigns actually look like? Are they just social media posts? Are you doing email marketing? Like how are you communicating to your audience?
So we've been focusing every 2-3 months, we'll put like some sort of bundle package together. Sometimes it involves like a new product or something, just as like a small thing. Like right now we've got something in development called Dog Days. We've never really done a dog specific promo, at least not in like four years or something, but people who buy these bikes to ride around with their dogs is a thing. So we're partnering with a couple dog companies, bringing in their products, kind of creating this like limited edition thing. Then social media content, we got a solid email list, emailing out to people. It just gives us stuff to talk about. And we notice like when we don't have that going on, people will sit on the fence in the funnel, purchase now, whenever. But when they have a reason to do, there's a special thing going on, we're not deeply discounting anything. It's more like, hey, you're getting this bundle of all this stuff at a better price than you bought them all individually. But very rarely are we like $500 off the bike. Everybody get in there. You can only do that so many times before it kind of wears out the email list. It's like not really that interesting, right. But we do these community kind of things. It generates a lot of interest. For example, this was a smaller one, but June, Pride Month. It's like, hey, we've got a Pride flag sunshade you can attach to your bike. If you're going to ride in a local parade or event, we'll give you that flag for free. We just want you out showing the bike off to your city, right? And otherwise we sold it. But so it's like, it wasn't a moneymaker for us, but it definitely generated a lot of community conversation and a lot of goodwill with our customer base who's into that kind of thing. We did the same thing for July 4th, USA made flag thing, same deal with the parades. Like get your bike out there riding locally, because while we're not running paid traffic, word of mouth is huge for us. Right. That Bunch Squad program, but also you can't ride the bike around your city without people wanting to talk to you about it. So the more we can encourage our customers to get out there riding and talking about it, that's kind of the grassroots thing that doesn't matter what Zuckerberg's doing on any given day, that will always be there for us. It's not going anywhere. So like there's always like a floor. Like if we can keep word of mouth and grassroots going, like we'll be okay regardless of what happens.
Yeah. Where can people learn more about your product, support you guys, buy a bike, or reach out to you?
All social channels at Bunch Bikes, the website, bunchbike.com. Yeah, check us out.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. This has been another e-commerce Conversations. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks for being vulnerable and sharing your learned lessons, Aaron, and congrats on achieving and overcoming a lot of those problems. So
yeah, thanks, Eric.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And keep on growing.